Now let's get this guy moving in a forward motion. In order to do that, we need to take this and move it. So let's just take his translate Z, and during these keyframes from 0 to 24, we're going to want to move him forward. Now, if you remember, the distance we moved the feet was -1 all the way to +1 and then back again, which is a total of, per step, 2 units, which means we need 4 units to make him, in 24 frames, move the amount he needs to move. Oops, wrong selection there, -1. Okay, so on keyframe, on this one here, do not hit S. This one's very important that you don't set a keyframe for everything. We're just going to set a keyframe here on keyframe 0, right click, key, well actually we're going to set it at keyframe 1, right click, key selected. No, I'm going to put it back to 0, hold on. Right click, key selected, and then go to keyframe 24, and then set it to 4, and right click, key selected. Now what we have is him starting here, taking a step moving forward to 12, and then another step to 24. If we look at that motion curve, window, animation editor, graph editor, you can see that he starts off slowly, speeds up, and ends slowly within those 2 paces. That is something we do not want. So we're going to select this and click on this here to straighten out that tangent between those keyframes. That'll make it so that he has constant forward motion, because when we walk, each step we don't slow down and speed up. We have a basically constant forward velocity when we walk, and our feet are going to need to be set to match that as well. So now if you take a look at him pace, he's going to move more consistently without speeding up and slowing down, but our feet don't have that same luxury yet. So we're going to take the feet, select those things there, window, animation editor, graph editor, and we are going to select just the translate Z's, translate Z there, translate Z there. Looks like I have some keyframes I need to delete here in the middle. I can even delete these here as well. Select both of those curves and hit linear tangents so they make kind of this double X pattern, and that'll keep his constant forward velocity. What happens is as the foot goes from -1 to 1, the other foot will take over, going from 1 to the next one, which will be up to 3. So that's how far forward those feet will move, and it's the forward leading feet, the feet that are on the ground, that are going to make those motions. Let's take a look at that. Now it should look as if his feet are stuck to the ground, and you can see that the right foot is stuck to the ground until the left foot hits on keyframe 12, and then the right foot will pick up, or the left foot will pick up off the ground and come forward. But the foot that's on the ground should look sticky during this process. And that's what we want. Now I'm going to select the whole of Moom, and I'm going to hit Window, Animation Editor, Graph Editor, and this time I'm going to do my repeat of this curve a little differently. I'm going to hit Curves, Post Infinity, Cycle with Offset. That means don't just cycle and repeat. Cycle, and where you left off, add where you started last time to that, so that you keep moving. In this case, it will keep moving forward. So Curves, Post Infinity, Cycle with Offset, and now I can go and change this to, for instance, 240, and he will continue to move forward. So let me stop that and back up a little bit so you can see where he's at. Let's drag back over here to keyframe 0. I'm going to hit 4 real quick, so maybe it'll render a little faster. But let's watch him move forward. So from keyframe 0 to 24, he has a normal looking walk. And you can see that his hands and his head are going to continue to move beyond that, because of that hands and shoulders are going to have that cycle keep going. But the feet, so I need to select the feet, select this other foot, select the head. I think that's about it. And I need to do curves, post infinity cycle on them. So Window, animation editor, graph editor, curves, post infinity, cycle. That should get the last of my motions down so that his whole self repeats as he moves forward. Let's see if we can look at that rendered here real quick. Oops, I forgot to select the hips going up and down. I can see that looks like he's kind of squatting as he walks. Window, animation editor, graph editor, curves, post infinity, cycle. Let's see if that looks any better. So he's moving up and down, bobbing back and forth. His hands are moving okay. Now, that's basically what we want to see. Let me watch this in a slower motion to see if we can see if the motion is correct. Let's watch this in half speed. Save that. Pretty slow walk cycle, but those are the basic motions that we have, and hopefully they're all swinging in the right direction at the right time. It looks pretty good. So what's next for you is to take this movement box, and he's going to walk along, something like this. He's going to walk across the frame. Let's see how far across the frame till he gets there. So I only need to go up to keyframe 100 in my case, so I'm going to go to 100. And he's going to walk along here, but instead of just walking along, he's going to walk for a few paces, and then he's going to turn his head towards the camera and give a wink. You can kind of have him do anything you want to, but I want it to be more than just a showcase of your walk cycle. I want him to actually do something a little bit interesting while he walks. So we're going to take this forward motion walk cycle, and now that I have his head selected down to the channel box, you can see the only thing I can't move is the thing that's already animated, this rotate Z, but I should be able to animate everything else. So I'm going to take this head rotation under the rotate Y and do key selected over here on keyframe 0, and then over here on keyframe 100 I'm going to do another another keyframe, key selected, so that by frame 100 he's moving back here again. Again, I'm going to go so he starts out moving his head, and I want about here on keyframe 20 I want him to start turning his head. So I'm going to set another keyframe, key selected on keyframe 20, and then I want him to turn his head to the camera for the majority of this time here till about keyframe, let's say keyframe 80. By keyframe 80 I want him to be facing forward again, so I'm going to right click here, key selected. Then I could go in the middle here and say after keyframe 20, let's say by keyframe 32 I want him turned, so I'm going to grab and turn him towards the camera and hit right click, key selected there, and then go over here till about keyframe 70, right click, key selected, and no, I'm sorry, I need to keep that rotation. So the rotate Y on keyframe 70 is going to need to have him still looking at the camera. So let's say it's that, and right click, key selected there again. So now as he walks, he's going to walk till keyframe 20, start turning his head for about half a second, and then have his head turn towards the camera for another 4 seconds. Walk, turn, look at the camera for a little while, and then turn his head back forward again. Now remember that a keyframe to show a motion of him moving his head towards is just as important as the keyframe that holds him in that position, which is why I had keyframe 20 pointing forward still. Otherwise he would have taken a second and a half to turn his head, and that would have just looked creepy if he took that long to turn his head. I need him to turn his head a lot faster than that, which is why I'm only giving him 10 or 12 keyframes to do it, so less than half a second to turn his head over. Now I obviously need to move his eyes over as well. So I'm going to have, usually we move our eyes are faster than our head. So by keyframe 0 I want him looking forward, so I'm going to hit, yeah, these are just on a translate. I'm going to hit key selected on all of those guys, and then by keyframe, let's say by keyframe 76 I want him looking forward again, right click, key selected. I'm going to have him looking forward from there to the end, right click, key selected. Now from keyframe, let's see, he's going to start moving his head his eyes towards me, let's say by keyframe 16. So I'm going to right click key selected on keyframe 16, and by keyframe 22, we're not going to give him very much time because the eyes are going to move a lot faster. We're going to have him looking that direction. So let's get as far as we can and hit S on the keyboard and then move that forward there and get this timing just about right and hit S on the keyboard there on keyframe 31. Now we're going to have him going back here by keyframe 70. I want him to be looking at the camera again, or still. So I'm going to move those over here so they're still framed at the camera. So right click, key selected. So let's see if that's about right. Looking forward, turns his head, turns his eyes, looks at the camera for a little while, and turns his head back around. He looks kind of blank in his expression, so of course I'm going to fix that. Click on this guy to adjust his, or get the side panel up here. Change this one to orthographic camera facial. Click on the circle he stands in, and the circle he stands in will allow you to turn the facial control panel on so we can adjust those facial expressions over here. The first thing I'm going to do is give him a little bit of a smirk. You can make your facial expression almost anything you want. Just going to give him a little smile on the side that he has towards the camera. I'm going to make him look a little relaxed by lowering his eyelids a touch. I'm going to make him kind of have a curvy eyebrow look over here. Maybe even a eyebrow about half that much over here. And then I want to make a blink. And I'm going to show you how to do a blink. And we're going to do a blink once, and then we're going to have him repeat that. So we're going to copy and paste those keyframes to repeat that. A blink involves, to simplify things, let's actually set these translate Ys on these eyelids to 0. No, is that 1 that's all the way open? There we go. 1 is all the way open. In order to get him to blink, you're going to set a keyframe of his eyes being open, which is the important one here. So let's set keyframe 14. Let's right click here and do key selected on his eyelids. And then over here we're going to give him two keyframes to close his eyes, which looks like that needs to be down there at -1. So right click, key selected on both of those eyes. So now his eyes are open on keyframe 14, about halfway on 6. I'm not working with enough frames here. We actually want to move this over to keyframe 16, don't we? Paste, paste. We're going to give him 2 keyframes to close his eyes, and then keep it closed for 1 keyframe. And so right-click, key selected on that one, key selected, and then I'm going to only give him 1 frame to have his eyes all the way open again. So 1, right-click, key selected. So it takes like 4 keyframes to do a blink. Take a look how it looks in context. Oh, let's get our right window active again here. Hold on. There we go. So he has that blink. Grabbing these eyelids again. Our upper eyelids are usually the only ones that move significantly. Our lower eyelids don't. So I'm going to select this and click and drag. Let's see. Shift click drag. There you go. I'm going to grab these few keyframes by shift clicking and dragging them. Okay. And then I'm going to right click, copy them. And usually before somebody looks a certain direction in animation, you're going to create what's called anticipation. And I want to show that they're going to blink before they actually do the blink. So grabbing these keyframes here, I actually made a mistake there. Let me undo that. There we go. So grabbing those, shift click, drag. Right click, copy those keyframes, and have him blink. Let's say here, paste, paste, paste. Have him blink just a couple seconds later, paste, paste. And then right before he's about to turn around, or while he's turning his head back around, we're going to have him blink one more time. So blinking is one of those things that will keep your character alive to your audience. If your character doesn't blink, they are going to appear to be dead. It's just kind of when you're bored and you're animating and you don't quite know what to do to give your character what they need. Just go in and put things like blinking and weight shifting into your character to help them appear more alive to your audience. So blink, turn, blink, blink, and then turn again. So let's see if we can watch that in full speed. Get that to work there. Blink, blink, and we're done. And that's about all we want for that walk cycle. You're going to render that thing without the controls on and turn that into a movie file. The only difference is on the pictures you turned in, I wanted them rendered 1024 by 768. All videos that you generate nowadays should be in widescreen, and this is not a widescreen resolution. So I'm going to go to the render settings and choose 960 by 540 for half 1080p. Might need to adjust my camera a little bit to keep my character in frame. Let's start out with him about right there, probably towards the top of the frame. And then hit play, character, turns, blinks, blinks. I'm going to zoom out a touch so that his head isn't always chopped off. Okay, I got my camera about where I want it. I hit view, select camera, and anywhere I want, I just hit S to set a keyframe so that I can have my camera back where I want it in case I need to re-render some frames or something later. Hit play, turns, blink, blinks. Animation looks okay. Let's do a test render here. Test render looks okay. I'm going to cancel that there. And now I'm going to set up that render here in render settings for rendering PNGs with name underscore number dot extension, multiple keyframes, starting at 1, ending at 100. In my case, I'm going to do 100 frames. You might do a little more, a little less than that. Choosing the camera, persp, hitting close, and then with the rendering submenu system, I'm going to hit render, batch render. And you're going to take this using the same methodology you did on the ball bounce, take all the keyframes that get rendered into FCheck, turn them into a .mov file, then you'll bring them into iMovie or some other video compositing program, give it some credits, and give it some compression so the file isn't so huge, and you're going to turn in that walk cycle. That's your assignment.